This is Gradowski of WeAreChange.org, and we have a lot to get into in this video. Specifically, we will be talking about all the information that you're not being told behind the Saudi oil attack and the larger ramifications because of it. I wanted to wait to make this video to get all the facts in, but I think it is very clear that there's a big agenda to sell you a war, and that's why we're going to be asking a lot of important questions in this video that, of course, the mainstream media is failing to do so at this very critical juncture that we are at geopolitically. Again, this is something that we have been warning about for a very long time now, even specifically months ago, telling you that this situation will escalate around October and that it wasn't a matter of if, but when the United States will actually launch a strike on Iran. And of course, all this news and information is available because of your support, you getting involved in the fight for independent media, independent information with no strings attached, with news and analysis that, of course, the mainstream media fails to provide you. We're providing you this for free because you decided to go to wearechange.org/donate and support us in the many ways that you can on that website. The link is in the description below. Click it to get involved right now. Now, the events that are unfolding right now are very serious, especially when you look at all the events beforehand that have been building up to this. And when headlines read that Iran war is imminent, they are not, honestly, that far off. You know, since, of course, the war with Iran has been a neoconservative wet dream for over a decade now, which, of course, we've been highlighting. And there's many other factors and analysis and predictions that we made previously around this topic that have led us down this conclusion. But let's stick to the analysis here first. As, of course, Donald Trump made it sound like this war is inevitable, which we've been saying it is, by saying that the United States is, quote, locked and loaded after an apparent attack on Saudi Arabian oil fields. Now, this oil attack, which we're going to get into in just a little bit, happens at a time where just a few days ago, Iran was on the verge of finally sitting down with the United States and opening some kind of diplomatic relations. Now, of course, a lot of situations are very unpredictable here since Donald Trump's foreign policy is very unpredictable. Some people would even say non-existent, since, of course, he keeps going back and forth between being a supposed nationalist and globalist, which he said himself he is both at the same time somehow, and the very fact that he did launch airstrikes and attacks on countries beforehand, allegedly because his daughter told him to do so. But before digressing, just know that this is a severe situation that will only get more severe from here. And now to this alleged attack that kind of crescendoed us to this very serious moment. It looks like a very major incident that, according to some reports, knocked out more than half of Saudi oil capacity, damaging more than 5 million barrels a day, which equates to 5% of the daily global oil supply, which happened after allegedly 10 drones targeted the Saudi oil facility, which some Houthi rebels claimed responsibility for. We're going to get into who the Houthi are in just a little bit. And after looking at some of the satellite images coming from this particular attack, as well as just the pure photos and videos, this is a very significant attack that some sources are claiming was done by cheap drones, which honestly is very surprising that somehow this attack was carried out by the Houthis, who don't have any air force and have been under direct assault by the Saudi coalition, which involves the United States and United Kingdom, that have been viciously attacking the Houthi rebels inside of Yemen, who, of course, Iran geopolitically is cheering on and wants to win that bloody conflict that is unfolding there, leaving the level of support that Iran is giving to the Houthis in major mystery, since it's still unknown the level of participation that Iran has with these Houthi rebels. Now, this, of course, is a totally different story than we're getting from anonymous, unknown U.S. officials who, by the way, are afraid to put their name behind this assertion, which it is, which the mainstream media is buying as fact with this headline saying that, quote, Iran fired cruise missiles in attack on Saudi oil facility, changing the narrative, marking it as official fact based on an anonymous source that is afraid to put his name behind this assertion, which it is, which the mainstream media, again, is putting it as fact. Again, there's a lot of U.S. anonymous officials, whoever they are, coming out and saying that they're certain that these attacks somehow came from Iran. Again, see here again, Fox News. U.S. official says unicorns exist. I mean, that's literally what they should be saying, because again, there's no way to fact check this. There's no evidence provided except for some word from some random official, and we know how that works out in the U.S. histories of starting war, and it doesn't work out well for anyone. And it only works because the mainstream media buys it and sells it to you as fact. Again, Saudi Arabia oil facility attack launched from Iran. U.S. says intelligence shows Iran involved. And it really looks like they're pulling out all the stops here, already providing a conflicting story, especially since Iran officially denied responsibility for this attack, even though Saudi Arabia is now saying that it was somehow a missile attack and not a drone attack, changing their previous statement. Now, there was some satellite images that allegedly was trying to prove Iran's culpability, but there's many conflicting stories here, and the evidence doesn't show the attack, which according to some sources, most likely from the military-industrial complex that will profit off of this heavily, that are still anonymous. This is why they're anonymous, because they don't want to be responsible for their statement that the media is regurgitating to you as fact, when again, very little evidence has been provided to do so. But according to this other source from ABC News, it was over a dozen cruise missiles and 20 drones from Iranian territory that carried out this attack. Now, what's really interesting around this entire situation is that from what I've seen, there are no actual reports of any major explosion or videos of any major explosions that would naturally take place under a direct attack of a major oil facility, which to my knowledge hasn't happened. Now again, I don't think anyone should blindly believe a story that keeps changing, whether it happened from Yemen or Iraq or Iran, whether it was a missile, whether it was a drone. I mean, all we have right now is pretty much some photos, not of the action, not of the attack, but just some photos and some anonymous sources. And to me, if we're going to launch a war, we need a lot more than just that. Practically speaking, this attack doesn't do Iran any favors. Now, the Iranian military did offer a statement, and a very threatening statement against the United States, saying that American bases and aircraft that are 2,000 kilometers around Iran are within the range of their missiles, which again, it's not a very peaceful statement. And it's not out of the sphere of possibility that Iran may be somehow responsible or not responsible for these attacks. But in these moments, it's important to question every aspect of the story, including the U.S. military-industrial complex bought aspect and narrative of this story that, of course, the U.S. Western mainstream media is puppeteering right now without asking any significant questions about or acting as any kind of journalist, just puppeteers. Now, regardless of the exact details of how things unfolded here, this is obviously a clear escalation that's going to have many severe ramifications in many ways, specifically economically, specifically with energy worldwide. As of course, obviously, the price of oil exploded and is expected to rise from these tensions rising in the Middle East. The United States also announced that it's ready to deploy its oil reserves to make sure that there won't be any kind of disruption on the global markets. Stocks are also acting in a way as if to financially prepare for the brewing conflict ahead. And even Rand Paul, who has been characterized as a man that has dumped his principles for his romance with Trump by Vanity Fair, that's their kind of take on it. Even Rand Paul is warning Donald Trump, who's he is a close friend of, that this is absolutely a needless escalation, and I totally agree. As these events are unfolding as if they came from the satirical website The Onion, that literally wrote satire articles talking about how an attack on Saudi oil is an attack on all Americans, which looks like the president is bringing true from, of course, his very aggressive, heated comments in this entire matter. And there's a couple things to consider the severity of this entire situation to bring context to what is ahead. Specifically, the conflict in Yemen, which a lot of people see as an absolute total disaster, but ultimately plays along a larger proxy war that is happening in that country, a very similar proxy war that has unfolded in Syria that has these specific interests at odds with each other. In, of course, Yemen, we have Houthi rebels fighting mainly against Sunni rebels backed up by, of course, Saudi Arabia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Houthi rebels, who of course are backed by, of course, Iran, since they are more favorable to the Shias, with the greater context of the Sunni Shiite class of civilizations that is taking place in the Middle East. Since, of course, the Saudi Empire and Iranian Empire have been at odds for a very long time. Both major oil producers on the world stage, but also at opposing sides in Syria, which also involved the United States and Israel, siding, of course, with Saudi Arabia, and on the other hand, Iran siding with the Syrian government, Russia, and of course also China. And those alliances play hand in hand with everything unfolding here right now. But this proxy war that already is taking place between Iran and Saudi Arabia and its allies has literally created the worst humanitarian crisis in the world right now, with devastating effects on the poor people in Yemen. A conflict which even Congress, men and women of this country, representatives, political representatives on the left and right actually agree to end and have passed wide-reaching resolutions specifically asking Donald Trump to end the U.S. involvement in that conflict, which Donald Trump vetoed. Donald Trump has been a major proponent and supporter of Saudi Arabia in creating this largest human disaster, humanitarian crisis in the world right now. Now, the United States' involvement in this conflict is not needed. The United States is a major energy producer on the world stage that does not need Saudi Arabia anymore like it used to depend on. So why are we involved in these conflicts which Donald Trump correctly called before needless and pointless and a hindrance on this country? Why has Donald Trump flip-flopped so much and still continues this insane support of Sunni Wahhabist radicals in the Middle East? Why are we so sure to call for war to protect the Sunni Wahhabist interests in the Middle East that have been predominantly responsible for terrorism in the West? We have to understand here, Donald Trump is not a peacenik. He is not the president that he promised to be, as of course even previous promises to put a halt to the U.S. war machine have not been met, like the withdrawal from Afghanistan, which he promised. But everything unfolding right now is demonstrating that the U.S. interests don't matter here. Saudi, Israeli, and other U.S. allies matter more than, of course, the United States, which is not making America great again. Now, what happened here is a major escalation. It's a major step in the wrong direction, which the United States foreign policy has been continuing to move forward in, regardless of the presidents who have promised to end it. For now, ever since I was even politically conscious, every U.S. president that I could remember, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, have promised to end foreign intervention, to be a non-interventionist president, to offer us peace and prosperity, and none of them have brought it, but only brought us closer to a bigger conflict, which again, in my opinion, will continue to escalate in October, which will most likely result in airstrikes from the United States, which I believe Iran won't have a way of responding to, but will eventually lead to probably another bigger proxy war or even a bigger regional conflict between Saudi Arabia and Iran in the Middle East. That is my kind of analysis of how I see things coming here, and expect another incident to happen, as already we are seeing major movements and major actions happening in the Strait of Hormuz, a major trade route. And again, trade routes are where the war starts, so keep an eye on the Strait of Hormuz. In my opinion, there will be another incident coming soon to that specific region that will even crescendo this moment a higher level than it is right now. That's my take on it. What do you think? Do you think I'm wrong? Let me know why in the comment section below. If you think I reported on something inaccurately, I also really want to know. I always try to answer as many comments as I can, and I appreciate them. I appreciate the constructive criticism. I appreciate being able to interact and learn from other individuals. This is how I see it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And once again, thank you so much for sharing this video. Talking about geopolitical issues on YouTube is ultimately shooting myself in the foot. I'm literally only able to still do this because you guys share this video, because you guys donate. Our demonetization is just abhorrent, and whenever we talk about these very important issues, YouTube downranks the video and demonetizes it. So again, I greatly appreciate all you guys keeping us alive, keeping me still able to do this job for you by donating on wearechange.org/donate. Click the link in the description below, and deep down, just know, love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.